Hi everyone. So today we got to play Obsession, Pride, Intrigue, and Prejudice in Victoria, England. So basically, this game is that you are a leader of a family, and that you are going to use different family members and guests in your home to do different favors or different action items. So therefore, you make your family more powerful.
Well, more than that, your family used to be rich. Now you've fallen into disrepair, and your home is disheveled.
Trying to get them back
and you're
on
trying
track.
to get your earn reputation by courting wealthy people, particularly the Fairchild family, and getting their money to come to you. That's really the goal of the game: is to try to regain the wealth that you once had.
So yeah. So quality of pieces. Overall, I mean, everything seemed fine to me. There was nothing screaming amazing,
Well,
but everything was fine.
I mean, there are things that are amazing. I think
that is
the
cool.
boxes.
These boxes are cool.
These are to store each individual player, and you put all the pieces in there and have it ready for the next turn. These are really neat. These are really nice, and they look like very elitist. You know what you would expect with these
I do
rich
agree with
families.
that. I mean, and the bag's good that the tiles go in, and the tiles are plenty thick, and I mean, you know, all your meeples are.
Not all of them.
Well, yeah, our headless one isn't so cool, but that was obviously
Poor guy.
a printing thing, and I actually kind of like it, the fact that we have a headless one. So it doesn't.
I think it's the headless horseman. You know, and
it's not only that it was headless, but it was cleanly cropped and painted, so it looks like he intentionally was never to have a head. The coins, normally cardboard coins really bother me, but these coins actually look like period, and they're really nice cardboard.
Thick.
So these don't bother me so much, although I probably would still prefer to play with my other coins, but I'd probably use these with that.
You know what they should do? Make these metal.
They'd be nicer metal, that's for sure.
We would.
What's really cute are these little victory point cards. They look like whale cards on the back, but they're tiny. They are. Here is like a regular size token from a game. Standing them next to them, I don't know if you can see them on camera. I'll put pictures up, but they are tiny cards. I don't know where you're going to find tiny sleeves to put them in, but they're really cute. There's two sets of those, but there's got regular size cards in here as well, and then it's slightly smaller than the regular size, but I think they are sleeves in that size.
Yeah, the objective cards is definitely sleeves.
So it's just these tiny ones that are going to be hard to find sleeves for, I think.
So what would you rate it? Give it a number, guys.
Well,
I wish the meeples were a little bit nicer. I mean, they're okay. There's nothing wrong with them, and they are shaped. But they could have painted them like with outfits on or something. Because that's the thing.
You don't like naked meeples.
I don't, and that's the thing. This game kind of makes it feel like it's that elitist period of Victorian England, and it'd been kind of cool if the meeples represented that as well. But that's a minor complaint. I'd give it an 8. I mean, the components are nice.
Yeah, the only thing, I'm not sure if it's just my feeling, the texture on the cards on the back is really nice, but on the front it kind of feels like there's like...
I'm the opposite. I like the front better than the back.
I don't know, the front, there's texture there, there's definitely texture there, but it just feels like it's almost like a plain, like not finished.
See, I think it feels the same on both. But
on the back I can feel the finish.
But there's texture on all the cards too, not just the regular ones.
Yeah, they did go...
That's really nice.
Yeah, even the small little baby ones have texture on them, so... You know, I think they went all out for this release as far as their pieces. I'm going to give it a 9. The tiles in the, you draw tiles from a draw bag, and these are really good, solid, thick cardboard. They're not going to mess up very easily.
Not as thick as me, but they're pretty thick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
All right. I agree. I think they did really well. I do think there is a little bit of room for improvement for the pieces, specifically with the meeples. I think that's really about it, to be honest with you. So I could definitely see a high 8, a low 9 on this one.
Well, maybe we should give it an 8.5 since he's missing half his head.
Okay, fair enough. 8.5 it is.
It'd be interesting to know if every copy has got a headless.
I hope ours is special.
But if it was on purpose, that's so much.
I wonder if we can find a little tiny hat to put on the headless man. That would be cool.
Or if there's a card that specifies just the headless person.
Yes.
Then you can only work with this person.
All right, so let's move
One
on.
and a half gentry.
Let's move on to theme. So theme is obviously Victorian England and trying to build up your family. I love this theme. I mean, growing up, I read Pride and Prejudice and Emma, all of those classic Victorian age. So this is something right up my alley. I like a lot of games that have this theme, Ladies and Gentlemen, and some other stuff like that. So I love this theme, and it definitely pulls you in. This definitely holds muster for this kind of theme. So I'm gonna give it an 8. What do you think?
Well, you know, the reason I ordered this was for you mainly, because I mean, I knew that the theme would be appealing to you, and I knew it was an engine builder, and so I knew there were things about this game that would fall right up to your alley, and that's why I ordered it.
Did.
You know, so I went all in and got all the expansion and all of that for it without ever playing it, because I knew that it would be something that would be right up your alley. The theme isn't as appealing to me, but it is included really well into the game. I mean, the whole concept of increasing your value of your family is well represented in the game, and the servants serve in the game. I mean, that is your worker base. I like the fact that they flow through. You know, they have to rest before they can be worked again. I mean, everything about this, as far as it plays into the theme very well.
It does. It
So,
really does.
I'm good with an 8. I'm thinking an 8 to a 9 even it does a very good job of incorporating the period and the theme.
Yeah, listening to you, I could agree to a 9 because you're right. The incorporation of the theme is very. It is part of the game, and it is good.
I can agree with the 9, but I agree. I think it's a 9 for a different reason. I think the reason why it's a 9 is the cards.
Oh, the cards.
Because
yes.
the cards are great because you got these really old style photos on them, but their abilities kind of make it feel like they're, you know, people of influence, and that the things that they do.
Mm-hmm. They have really nice
them.
flavor text.
They have really great flavor text, and the pictures are great, and just their abilities make it feel like these are, you know, rich people, and that they're doing rich people things.
And then there's like ne'er-do-wells that are also in the deck that can come in that you can use for some benefits and maybe screw your opponents by spreading rumors.
Well, that's it. It's mostly gossiping. It's all related to gossiping, which is perfect for this time period.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's a 9. I mean, I agree.
No,
I agree with the buildings being cool and how it works towards the theme, but I think the theme really shines in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So next up is rules.
So the rules. This is really interesting because I read online that these rules were really good to great, and when I read through, I found completely the opposite. I mean, there's aspects of it I like, because the nerdy stats side of me loves the fact that they had a playthrough of 48 playthroughs, and they did the statistics on where most of the scoring comes from to give you an idea. And I thought that was really cool. But as far as the actual functionality of the rules, they decided to incorporate a lot of the expansion, or not necessarily expansion, but a lot of there's multiple variant ways of playing the game into the rule book while you're reading the rules instead of having them at the end. And they also have in addition to the rule book, which is 16 pages, I think they did it intentionally to make the rule book smaller. They have a glossary. So as it's going through, almost every paragraph you're in will have a highlighted blue word that says, if you see this, it's referenced in the glossary. So there's a lot of going through this, or going back to this, if you want to read it and try to understand it, or else you just say, screw it, I'll read the glossary later, and you read through and it doesn't make any sense until later on. So there was a whole lot of, it took me a long time to read 16 pages. It was not a quick read, it was not an easy read. Of course, I was abandoned and left alone as usual to read. I mean, Robert's sometimes here, but you know, then that's when he takes nap time.
No, that's one game. You can't keep saying that off of one game.
So,
she is the one that goes to nap time.
Yeah, and she actually did literally go to nap time this time while you were gone, because you weren't here.
I just wasn't here.
So,
it's so true.
So I was left to read these to my own accord, and it took me a long time to make it through this and interpret it, and I still made a couple of flubs, but they weren't bad. So I'm going to give this one, I mean, there's parts of it that are really good, really well made, and parts of it that kind of detract. I'm going to give it a 6 because of that. I don't think it was horrible. It could have been way better, though. I honestly think they made a mistake in the way they tried to approach it. And there were a lot of things where the cards themselves would tell you what it would do, but they incorporated it into the rules, too, and it caused confusion, because if you don't have that tile or that particular card in play, the rule isn't in effect. So you don't really need it in the base rules. It could be a modifier for the rules, as in most games. So I just think there was more convolution in the rules than was actually in the gameplay.
I just got the impression that the rules that should have been in the rule book was also in the glossary, or it should have been in the glossary. So make the rule book, and then the appendix, instead of trying to merge them together but then separate them.
Yeah, it was a very interesting decision they went with, and I think it was also because the rule book would have been extremely long if they tried to put it in there. And also, I think they had this thought, well, the cards might be confusing, so we're going to put it in there. But, you can have a card reference. You don't need to incorporate it into the place where the rule is. It caused more confusion being where it was to me.
And that's the thing, though. Card reference, you really didn't need them. The cards were pretty easy to understand.
Yeah,
they really are.
And the buildings, and it wasn't just the cards, but the buildings too. And it was. The buildings were self-explanatory, but I don't think we ever needed to look up anything on them because they basically said what they did.
Except for the cat.
Except for the cat.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't know what the heck to do with the cat. This is Duchess Lilo, the developer's cat. It looks like it's been an amazing card if you can play it.
And for the record, it was not in the book. We had to go
on Boardgame.
We had to go on Boardgame Geek and look it up, and then there was still a piece that was not in the base game to even use it. So I think it was required the expansion, which we didn't incorporate on our first gameplay. So it was like, this card is just completely useless. Although it was still worth a lot of victory points if you kept it. So
and it's a cute cat.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna trust you on your 6 for rules.
Me too.
Okay. So
sure,
now,
you can read it right now if you'd like.
No, I think we're okay.
I'm all right.
So playthrough. I'm gonna tag Andrew. Andrew, what do you think of playthrough? He also played with us today.
Oh, you're adding me finally.
Tajic, Caleb, Andrew, all the same person. They all screen presence.
The hidden person.
Yes. What did you think?
For gameplay, it was very simple moves you can decide, but you couldn't really decide until it was your turn. So there was a long wait time, like Robert was telling us earlier. He got bored of it because he played his turn, and it would take like 15 minutes to get back to him. Couldn't decide what to do until then because things would change dramatically. But for the theme, play style, and whatnot, all that, it's not bad. I'd probably give it a 6 for playing.
Okay. What did you think, Robert?
I agree it's a 6 because as Caleb just mentioned, I was bored. Theme is great, but it's just, while I was waiting to take my turn, like Caleb also said, I couldn't plan ahead. So there wasn't really a whole lot of strategy because I couldn't plan 2 or 3 moves in advance. And so
you couldn't really affect each other either.
Right, and well, there's some attack, but we really didn't take advantage of those cards. I had quite a few in my hand, but I didn't want to play
steel
them.
workers. You could reduce people's.
One time I stole
abilities.
influence from
reputation
from Miranda.
Yeah, totally unnecessary.
Just one time, but it's just the downtime is part of it. The other part is that there's definitely AP involved in this. It's sometimes someone has to take a long time to decide what they were going to do. Understandably, because there's a lot of things to think about. But there was a lot of downtime combined with AP. It's a 6. It's okay. I'll play it again, but I'm not going to pick it.
Well, I've got something different to say. I actually really did like this. I didn't think there was a lot of downtime, but I planned ahead, and I don't think I took too long on my turn unless there was something new that did crop up. But I pretty much knew what I was going to do several rounds in ahead. And maybe because I wasn't really looking at the buildings, I only really paid attention to the buildings if I had money, which never happened. So there's that piece of it. I really liked it. I enjoyed the gameplay. I'm going to give it an 8 because I really did enjoy it. I really loved the theme. It really involved you in, and I liked the engine building. The only caveat is I want to play the extended version because this game was too short. I felt like I was just getting the engine going before it finished, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, there's to point out there is in the rules a standard version and there's a built-in extended version. It's on the back of the scoreboard. So while it says standard, I think the real intent was that to be the learner version, and then the other side to be the standard, true standard version, the extended version. Because it seems like you just get the engine going by the time it stops. And I know there's a lot of engine games that do that, but it feels like this one, you really need a few more turns for it to pan out. And they built some of the actions of the game into the longer game that don't happen in the shorter one. So I think it was really intended that this is just to learn the game concept before you play the full game.
Yeah.
As far as my review, of the playthrough of it, I personally don't mind the downtime in this game. It gives me time to plan my move because, honestly, the only thing I saw that was really changing through the round was the different buildings that were out there. So the buildings themselves didn't really, I mean, you could lose one, and I did many times because I had Caleb on my right, which is awful for me because he always takes the same kind of buildings I want. But apart from that, I didn't notice a whole lot of things that changed in the game as it went around to my turn. So my biggest problem was planning what I could do with the workers I had available to me or ones I would get to me. And honestly, I think the biggest mistake I made was being too nice in the game. Because one of the actions that you can take after you've taken workers for your first time is to take workers from other people. And there's only a handful of each type of worker available to take, and all of the workers that triggered for the they have male and or ladies and gentlemen cards, and the ladies required these purple assistants to trigger. They were the handmaidens, and I couldn't get any. I didn't have any. I had one handmaiden. So I couldn't play any locations that required multiple lady cards. And I had lots of building actions or these different action tiles that required ladies. So I ran into limits on my ability because I didn't want to steal from other people. And I think that was the intent of the game, is that you're going to be going back and forth with your people.
Yeah, I just felt like that was a waste of time.
Yeah,
though,
and that was the thing, is it took an action to do it, and the game was so short, you didn't want to waste it getting people that often, because once you did that, you really lost out because you couldn't play any of your cards when you did that, and you couldn't earn money, which is also needed to build the buildings. So there was a whole, a lot of sacrifices you were making to get workers, but they were really powerful when you had them.
Well, I mean, that's just it. I didn't have a problem getting workers, and I agree with what you said. The only thing that changed was the buildings, and so I don't. You were the ones that was taking a really long time.
I believe that would have been Caleb that was the one that was taking the most time.
Every time I build a building, the next turn I'd used it. That's what usually happened. That's why it took me longer on my turn.
Right, that's the excuse.
Mm-hmm.
But
who won?
You did.
And who came in second? I did. So maybe it takes that planning time,
You can take too long. I go with gut instinct. Just do a thing that.
And gut instinct got you where?
Close. I was not far behind. 129 to your 132.
Oh, that's
points.
a huge margin of victory there. What are you talking
3
about?
points.
So anyway, it didn't bother me about the downtime at all in the game. I didn't feel it, and if I had felt it, I could have done something like play on my iPhone or something. So it didn't bother me. I don't mind waiting and planning time. I don't mind waiting and planning on other people's turn or my turn either. So it causes other people to have that pain. So maybe that's the problem. The two of us didn't mind it because we were the ones doing it. So
well, I didn't mind it either, but that's because I crochet well.
You're always in another world during the turns in between anyway. So it's just Robert who actually tries to pay attention to the game and therefore suffered from analysis paralysis.
And I just did really horribly. So I might like it a little better if I played again with some of the rule changes with the modular aspects of the expansion. It might make a difference, but just with that downtime, and it just, I don't know, I just couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
It was rough.
So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see your point on it, but it didn't bother me that much. Now that said, there wasn't a lot of things that were, I think, significantly different in strategy on this game, which I always like it when there's lots of paths to victory. To me, there weren't, even though there were a lot of scoring potential, you definitely got most of your points from the building of the buildings and then also from the cards you accumulated.
Well, that's two different things.
Yeah, and that might have been part of my issue, is that I didn't really get any good cards. I got one out of all the cards I drew, one that really helped me.
Right.
And I didn't get that towards the end of the game.
Right.
But, you know, Caleb got a $500 card, and I had a $200 card.
I
That's the
did
most
as well.
money I got.
I
Yeah.
had like a third
And-
of the deck.
Yeah.
So, it's just that I didn't have a lot of options with my cards either. And I did draw them.
Yeah.
So it's not like I didn't do that. I just didn't get good ones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that you had some of the buildings that you could play a lot more on, and if you didn't have that ability, like if you weren't able to buy one of those that, you know, play 4 gentry cards or the play the 6, I think you ended up losing quite a bit because, you had a bunch of small ones,
And I
but
had
those
some.
small ones
I
add
had
up.
some, but I had a lot of negative cards that didn't do me any good. I had like 3 ladies that were awful. They didn't do me any good at all.
Oh.
And so that's what I'm saying. Maybe a little bit of the luck in there that I didn't get good card draws.
Yeah, that is possible.
And because there are bad cards in the deck, you can very well get luck. You know, luck can burn you as far as because it tells you have to draw, you do have to draw. You cannot say no, I don't need a card. You have to take it.
Well, I mean, the safe way to go is just getting the prestige people.
Well, yeah, but
Well,
you can't necessarily
you
play
can't do
those.
that at the beginning. And so like the ones I got is like if I play a card, I might be able to draw a card, but I lost $200.
Mhm.
Or I would lose 2 reputation to be able to get a card. So the negative benefit didn't outweigh the positive benefit.
Mhm.
And so I had 3 or 4 cards that was in my hand that I couldn't use.
So yeah, I mean, I can see definitely that there is some luck factor into this that I don't like, but then I also do like the fact that when you draw, there is that risk of
Yeah, I don't
risk
mind the luck.
reward
It's just
aspect.
in this case, it wasn't on my side. And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's coloring my opinion a bit as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I liked it quite as well as you did. I think it's more of a 7 for me. I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's a good game. It's just I think it should be more ways, and maybe the expansion will add that for me.
maybe.
Because I just didn't feel like to me there was enough variance in strategy between the players. You know, it's not like what we experienced the other day where we had lots of ways of getting points, totally different strategies among us, and they were all, you know, in the Whistle was it Whistle Mountain?
Whistle Mountain.
You know, it was much more variety as far as the ways of scoring.
Yeah, it was more salad,
And,
salad versus this.
And my question is also after playing such a good game and then coming to this, has this slightly altered your guys' thoughts? Because we just
Nope.
got to deal with
I
a
don't-
fantastic game.
You didn't play the other way
I don't
yet.
Exactly.
I don't think so because it was. I mean, maybe if I played this immediately after Whistle Mountain, it might have colored it, but not a day later.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, the art on this, I mean, we didn't talk about the art, but the boards and everything reminds me so much of viticulture. I mean,
It does.
the art of it, and honestly, the play of it, I prefer some of this to the base elements of viticulture. You know, when we get to viticulture's review, we're going to have totally different scores on that. It'll be a very interesting review because, you know, depending on, and also on that one's going to be hard because of the viticulture versus the, what's the expansion?
Listen,
Tuscany.
we do not play viticulture without Tuscany.
Right. So there's going to be some very different discussion on that one, but you'll look forward to that because I know Robert's got that one in the queue, wanting to get that onto the table. So, you know, we just want, you know, this does give you the feel of that game's art.
The artwork for sure.
On
Yeah,
the
it
boards,
is reminiscent
it's very
of that.
reminiscent of that. But yeah, I mean, I think you know, I think the scores aren't that. I mean, 6, 7, 8. You had a 6 as well. You said. I mean, it's still in the, you know, on the positive side on all of us. I mean,
Sure.
it's not. None of this is going to give us, you know, say this is the best game ever. You know, but I think, you know, obviously the theme and everything added to the value for you, and it was more, you know, the intent of buying this game was for you mainly. So
Well, and hit my buttons. I'm really excited about adding the expansion to this because I'm really hoping it would make it even that much better.
Mhm.
So I think the base game is good, and I'm excited to see what they could have added to it to make it better. So.
And by the way, so this was a 2018 release. Designer and artist is both Dan Halligan. So this was all from one person.
Wow.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, yeah, so obviously a lot of work on his part. And they have a lot of mechanisms written on this, but some of them I don't agree with, like in BGG's of card drafting. There's card drawing.
Well,
yeah.
there is card drafting in one of the variants. It mentioned like the
Okay.
starter cards, instead of getting dealt to, you could draft for them.
Oh, okay.
So there's in
There's
some of the
that possibility
variants,
then.
there's drafting.
So
yeah.
it's but card drafting, deck, bag, and pool building, which is
Well,
for
that's
sure.
deck building.
So
yeah.
and then it's got a solo variant, but
Yep, it does.
So-
Ooh, I want to play that.
and then tile placement. So
Ish.
Yeah,
well,
it
you're
is.
building,
the placement
I mean,
itself
they're
is
tiles.
You're
but
placing a tile.
Yeah, you are
It's
picking
got
up a
absolutely
tile and
nothing to
placing it.
do with,
Yes.
other. There's no ramifications of once you place it.
That would be interesting to add,
Yeah, maybe.
like building a home and depending, like colors, touching colors and stuff.
Well, they put the colors there. You're gonna all
I'm
the browns
saying
are gonna
change it
touch
up.
blue.
I'm changing that.
Well, and maybe that's what changes because I mean it's kind of odd that the expansion's called upstairs downstairs.
Mhm.
So maybe
That's true.
maybe there is an element of that.
Yeah.
So,
I think we need next time we play it though. We need to all speak in snooty accents with our noses in the air. I'm going to move here.
you're the only one that can manage that.
There might be a stick up there. That's all I'm saying. But, you know.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciated spending time with you today. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can see more of what we do. If you have any other suggestions on what games should be at our table, you just let us know, all right? Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.